do you know why I'm ready? Because Friday, I see Sarah in person.
Friday, we are together in the same state, in the same town, in the same car/hotel. It's going to be great. There's probably going to be some sort of explosion.
Yes.
The world will never be the same again.
No. It'll be a confetti explosion.
It will be.
It will be a confetti explosion, and we are so excited. But we must work beforehand. And let me just tell you, I would like to say thank you to all our new Apple Podcast subscribers who have joined us since October. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. All of our new listeners as well, even if you're not a subscriber. Thank you for joining this pandemonium of excitement.
Yeah, we are very, very happy that the marketing worked.
Right. We are very happy about that.
Are happy.
Yes, but if you are a new listener and you want more Story Sirens content, other than just what we release weekly on all of our podcasting platforms, please feel free to subscribe to our Apple podcast channel, where for a small fee, you get extra weekly bonus content, and you get, Yenny, do they get access to the episodes earlier?
You do.
Okay, you get earlier access by like a day, but still a day. Early is early. And if you also join our Discord server, which our Discord server is open to the public, anybody can join, but you become a paid subscriber, you get to be involved a little bit in knowing what all goes into the episodes, and you get to, see a little bit behind the curtain a bit.
Yes.
And see all the coffee that goes into it, because it's a lot of coffee.
Exactly. Speaking of coffee, if you don't have Apple Podcasts, totally fine. You can definitely donate to us on our Ko-fi website, which is ko-fi.com/storysirens. There you can become a Siren Seeker as well, and you will get all of the episodes on our private, super top secret YouTube. And the same thing goes, as Sarah said, on Discord, becoming a Boost member. You can go ahead and help us out in any way possible. We love you guys. But just
your
you
support
guys
keeps
listening,
this podcast going.
Yeah, just you guys also listening, subscribing, making sure to hit that notification button. You're helping us a bunch, and we're just really overwhelmed with all of the love.
We really are. We appreciate it so much. Best birthday gift I could have received. Yes, so if you are also watching this on YouTube, I promise we'll get through the promotional part here in just a second. If you are watching us on YouTube, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications button, leave us a comment. And with that, we'll move on with the rest of the episode. Thank you for your patience.
Anywho, welcome to Story Sirens, the podcast where we deep dive into myths, legends, and folklore from around the world. I'm Yenny.
And I'm Sarah, and I know we made a really big deal about being done with all things haunted and frightful last week, what with that being the final episode for the month of October, but we just can't help ourselves, and we needed to give you one more spooky episode. I mean, after all, it is a dark and stormy night currently.
Sarah, you can't know that for sure. I mean, it certainly isn't dark and stormy where I'm currently at yet. It's Miami.
Yeah, it's not dark. It's not dark and stormy for me either. In fact, it's 9:30 in the morning. It's actually a very beautiful day. But you know what? It's November, and I want it to be dark and stormy. Leave me alone.
Fine. Listen, without further ado, are you ready to dive into a world of love, loss, tragedy, morality, science running amok, men playing gods, and utter chaos?
Yes!
Good. In the narration technique of Penguin Random House Classics, Mary Shelley Frankenstein, it's time for Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And that is from the narrator of the Penguin Random House classic, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which is Colin Salmon. Give it up for Colin.
Ooh.
We love Collins in this show.
We do love Collins. I mean, Collins are a talented breed. Now, levity aside for a brief moment, we do want to give a trigger warning for this episode because there is a lot to cover, and there's a lot of dark history and a lot of dark content. So in this episode, we will be discussing suicide, child death, murder, miscarriage, depression, gore, animal and human scientific experimentation, marital infidelity, and violence. So please, listener discretion be advised. And if there are children present, please listen with headphones.
Yes. Additional trigger warning, get ready for some overly dramatic characters. Victor.
Oh, who'd have thought?
Yes. Now, Frankenstein is one of the earliest sci-fi novels ever written, okay? Most people thought Percy Shelley wrote it because Mary had initially published the novel anonymously.
That is true. And actually, brief segue. Because I know when we say the name Frankenstein, you know, the image in your head appears of this big lumbering monster. And of course, you know, it's old hat to say, oh, well, you know, Victor is actually the monster and Frankenstein is the name of the creator. The monster is unnamed, yada, yada, yada. But on the subject of monstrosities and mythos, my friend and I the other day were actually discussing Frankenstein, and she asked me if I would consider Frankenstein to be like the OG Western zombie. And I'm like, well, it could be. However, I would like to argue that he's not entirely a zombie because when I think zombie in Western media, because I know we've discussed the origins of the zombie in Haiti and Caribbean culture and all that sort of stuff, but when I think zombies in Western media, I tend to think a singular individual who died and was brought back to life. If we think about the creature, the monster in Frankenstein, you know, he's not a singular being. Which we will find out about, even though, you know, most of us are already aware of this in the Hollywood adaptation. But the monster is made up of multiple different parts, some human and some animal. He's intelligent, he's strange and unknowable, he's equal parts compelling and repulsive. So I personally would categorize him as a chimera. Listeners, what would you categorize him in? Let us know in the comments or join our Discord and tell us what you think. But yeah, let us know in the comments. What sort of mythical entity would you categorize Frankenstein's monster as?
But wait. Before we discuss the novel too much, Sarah, let's go ahead and do your favorite thing, which is context in history.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. It's great. Listen, nothing takes place in a vacuum or a bubble. Everything is influenced by everything around it. So, discussions of what the monster might be aside, in the latter half of the 18th century, Luigi Galvani was studying the field of elettricità animale, or animal electricity. When an electrical current was applied to the body or limb of a dead animal, usually a frog in these early experiments, the experimenters would notice a jolt of movement in the appendage. Luigi Galvani was immensely interested in this and how it could be applied to patients suffering from paralysis. He believed that there was a fluid or a sort of life force flowing throughout the body which could be manipulated by a metal rod, and this manipulation could cure all sorts of ailments and, quote-unquote, restore vitality to an individual. In later experiments, Galvani would expose prepared frog specimens to electrical currents in the air during thunderstorms rather than using electrical rods, and he would observe similar reactions of movement in the frogs. Sounding a little familiar?
It is, but for the wrong reasons. I actually have right now in my head the Electric Slide song.
Oh, well, that's because you have matrimony on the brain, and, you know, what is a reception without the electric slide?
But I could work. I can imagine Luigi like, you can do the electric slide. And then the frog's like, ribbit.
Yeah, just... I know. Oh, this is terrible. I love it. All right. Now, during these experiments, Galvani's nephew, Giovanni Aldini, wondered if his uncle's discoveries could go so far as restoring life to the dead.
We were just dancing the electric slide, Giovanni. Like, why?
I know. Listen, that's the theme of this whole episode. We're going to go back and forth between levity and absolute horror.
What?
So, in 1803, Giovanni would test his uncle's science at that point widely known as galvanism, which is still a scientific practice today, on human specimens at the Royal College of Surgeons in London.
Terrifying, but it's terrifying, but I know that sometimes science was able to evolve because of these things, but it's so terrifying and cruel.
Still not great. Still not great.
It's not great. Yeah.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
But I mean, the human specimens were dead. They were already dead, right?
I think so.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, just shoving that under the rug.
Yeah.
In the early 19th century, the subject of galvanism was very fashionable. It was a theory that was all the rage and everybody was talking about it. European society members hotly debated how far science could go. Could the living be brought back to life? Science was a popular topic, along with politics, philosophy, art, and poetry. Artists were scientists, and scientists were artists. I mean, all of this was blended together.
Wow.
Now, scientists, naturalists, and anatomists were kind of their own type of celebrity at this point in time, and they were viewed through the lens of romanticism, as they could understand the natural world in a way the common man often could not. They gazed into the mysteries and, made order of it and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Writers and artists like Percy Shelley frequently dabbled in galvanistic experiments in order to broaden their own understanding of the world around them, and found themselves excited by the never-ending mysteries of life and science. Shelley especially had a macabre fascination with life, death, natural science, and forbidden knowledge, and often spoke of his experiments to his paramour, Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin. So is it any wonder that Mary would go on to write a Gothic romance all about science gone awry in the hands of a passionate, if misguided, man? Now, we've given you some context to the science going on at the time of Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin, later Mary Shelley's life. But let's do a quick timeline of Mary herself. And trust us, these details are important.
They're very important, and they show us a lot about the writer that I feel like we don't always get with other
we don't always pick up on it.
famous novels out there, So, and Mary deserves it. Mary deserves it.
So, listeners, here's the timeline of Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley's life. 1797. Mary is born to writer and feminist philosopher Mary Wollstone and journalist and philosopher William Godwin.
Both were radical writers for their time. Unfortunately, Mary's mother dies 10 days after birth, and while Mary had an intellectually stimulating childhood, it wasn't the same emotionally. But real quick, a brief note on Mary's parents. William Godwin was a philosopher who believed in utilitarianism and anarchism. Mary Wollstonecraft spent time in Paris, France, a year before King Louis XVI was guillotined and later wrote a history of the French Revolution. She also wrote the essay A Vindication of Women's Rights, where she made the outrageous claim, super outrageous, that women were not inferior to men and were only viewed as such because they were not allowed to be as educated as men. Unfortunately, when William Godwin published Memoirs, a story of his wife's life, which he believed was a loving and honest tribute to his late wife, the public was scandalized by the book, as it revealed Mary's illegitimate children, suicide attempts, romantic affairs, and some of her more scandalous beliefs. It would take a long time for Mary Wollstonecraft's reputation to recover. And you can listen to more about Mary's parents and a little bit about her childhood in our bonus content for this week. So please check it out. Now then, back to Mary Wollstonecraft Godwin.
Because, don't you love it when everybody has the same name?
Yes.
It's going to get even better.
Oh, yeah.
Because in 1801, William Godwin remarries. This time he marries a woman named Mary Jane Claremont. Mary Jane brings her own children into the family, Charles and Claire. Mary Shelley tolerates her step-siblings. By the way, I'm just going to call her by her married name so that we can keep the Marys
separate.
Distinguished. Yeah. So Mary Shelley tolerates her step-siblings, but she despises her stepmother, and we're just going to leave it at that.
Yes.
Now, there's a little bit of debate of when this happens, but sometime between 1812 to 1814, a 15-ish-year-old Mary meets a 20-ish-year-old Percy. All you need to know is there's 5 years between them. And Percy is a poet, radical, atheist, free love believing, basically everything that, uptight European English society was against. But poet and writer Percy Shelley, who admires the work of William Godwin. And Percy approaches William Godwin to, learn more from him, and also the fact, his dad's kind of angry at him right now. But also, Percy is married.
Yeah, keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind. So then in July of 1814, a then 16-year-old Mary elopes with 21-year-old Percy, who is still married.
Yeah.
This whole relationship causes a whole bunch of scandal in England. As it should. And so the pair run away to Europe along with Mary's stepsister Claire.
Mm-hmm.
William Godwin is furious about this and refuses to talk to Mary Shelley for 2 whole years. Interesting.
Yeah. Which
we see, Yinny, we see 2 years happen later on in this story.
Oh, we do. That is very true. And also, I would like to add, Claire runs away with them, but Mary has definitely stated that Claire was very annoying and she did not enjoy her stepsister, but just, had no other choice.
She tolerated her.
Yeah, she tolerated her.
But, yeah, and Claire is her own interesting figure, but this is Mary's episode.
But also, talk about cock block, dude. Like, I want to be with my not real husband because he's already married.
Exactly. And now he's practicing bigamy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. All right. So anyway, in February of 1815, Mary gives birth to baby Clara. But tragically, Clara dies shortly after her birth. This is greatly upsetting to Mary, understandably, and she has repetitive dreams about Clara still being alive. I know, it's very hard. Now, in April of 1815, Mount Tambora in Indonesia erupts, and the amount of ash, sulfur, and other pyroclastic materials it spews messes up the climate in the entire northern hemisphere.
Wow.
1816 becomes known as the year without summer, and this is a very big deal.
Very big deal.
So, in January of 1816, Mary gives birth to William, who does survive past infancy. And in June of 1816, Mary starts writing Frankenstein. Now, the setting for this, Mary, Percy, their friend Lord Byron, and Claire Claremont,
Mary's stepsister and now Lord Byron's lover.
Mm-hmm. And Lord Byron's friend, companion, physician, William Polidori, are at Byron's Villa Diodati in Switzerland. Now, due to the weather, because again, remember, this volcano erupted and it's the year without summer, they are all trapped inside. And they're also all moody, horny, and suffering from cabin fever. So what was either going to happen was a mass murder or a mass orgy. So
or
Lord
both.
Byron, yeah. So Lord Byron proposes that the group has a writing contest to see who can create the best ghost story. Polidori wrote The Vampire, which we have discussed on this podcast already, which was basically like a satirical stab at Lord Byron. And Mary began the initial draft for a short story about a mad scientist and his creation, Frankenstein.
Now we go into December of 1816. And here we have our first plot twist. Mary and Percy's eloping? Yeah. Well, we know there was a problem with that, but there was a very, very, very big problem with that.
Yes. Percy Shelley's actual wife, Harriet, commits suicide. So Percy and Mary can now legally wed. Hooray?
It's so scandalous. It's so terrible. Because we have to think about Harriet, in this.
Oh, I feel absolutely
god-awful.
Horrible for Harriet.
Yeah.
Harriet got the absolute raw deal of this.
Yes.
And please note, while I am saying these are immensely talented people who are brilliant, I'm not saying these are good people by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. morally gray is where we're at right now.
Yeah, I'd say kind of morally bankrupt to a certain degree.
Very true.
So Mary and Percy are officially married, and Mary and her father, William, are reconciled, and she continues working on Frankenstein.
And then in May of 1817, Frankenstein is finally completed.
In September of 1817, Mary gives birth to her third child, Clara Everina. And tragically, like her older sister, Clara Everina does not survive past 1 year of age.
But we still have William.
We do still have William.
We still have William.
Now, in November of 1817, Mary's first novel is published, History of a 6 Weeks Tour. And in 1818, January 1st, I believe, Frankenstein is published. And Mary is only 20 years old.
Yes. This is the first edition, which was published anonymously and had 3 volumes.
So now we have another tragic plot twist. In June of 1819, Mary and Percy's son, William, their only surviving child of their 3 children thus far, passes away at the age of 3. Mary falls into a deep depression and writes in her journal,
"This is the journal book of misfortunes." During this time, Mary also wrote a semi-autobiographical novella called Matilda, a story about a father-daughter incestual love, which was never published during her lifetime. And this we discuss a little bit further in bonus content.
Now, in November of 1819, Mary gives birth to her 4th child, Percy Florence. Everybody take a breath. He is the only child of Percy and Mary to survive into adulthood.
Thank goodness.
Right. But things still aren't great. In April of 1822, Mary almost dies from a absolutely horrendous miscarriage. And after that, Percy nurses her back to health, and after that is when they close the book on trying to have more children.
Yes.
Now, in July of the same year, 1822, Percy Shelley goes sailing with friends against the advice of locals along the Gulf of Spezia. And the ship sinks in the storm. Now, there are some reports that during this time, Percy was pretty manic because this is only 2 or 3 months out from nearly losing his wife, losing an unborn child. And we already knew that Percy was not really the most emotionally or mentally stable individual. Brilliant, talented, all that junk came with also a whole lot of mental baggage. So it was greatly speculated that he just kind of thought, weather be damned.
Yeah.
So he and his friends die in the shipwreck. The ship sinks. There are horrible storms. And 10 days later, his body washes up on shore. His body was cremated, but supposedly his heart wouldn't burn. Huh. So Mary kept his heart, wrapped it in silk, and kept it in her writing desk.
No me digas eso, Sara.
Yeah, sorry. Percy was 29 and Mary was 24. That's a whole lot to go through in that short of a life. Yeah?
Please, God forbid. No, hopefully our men go first and we live together after that. But
yeah, we're moving in together after that just to make sure we don't commit too many crimes.
Please, I cannot have Jared's heart wrapped in silk in your desk. Like, I won't do it if you, and I won't do it, and I'm not letting you do it.
I promise now. I won't do it if you don't do it.
Not even a fingernail. I don't even want a lock of hair.
No. I'm good. Let them pass on.
Let them go for it. And because qué locura es eso? No.
Now, a very, very grieved Mary, naturally, 24 again. She's 24. Wrote in her journal,
"For 8 years, I communicated with unlimited freedom with one whose genius, far transcending mine, awakened and guided my thoughts. I conversed with him, recited my errors of judgment, obtained new lights from him, and my mind was satisfied. Now I am alone. Oh, how alone. The stars may behold my tears, and the winds drink my sighs. But my thoughts are a shielded treasure, which I can confide to none."
So, in 1822, after the death of her husband, Mary moves back to England in order to maintain the financial support of her father-in-law, Sir Timothy Shelley. And Mary tries to make a living by publishing her own writings as well as Percy's writings. But Sir Timothy forbids her from publishing anything, as he doesn't want to find the name Shelley appearing in print again. And she acquiesces because she has a son to raise.
Right.
In 1823, the second edition of Frankenstein is published, and Mary Shelley is officially credited as the author, since in the first edition it was anonymous. Frankenstein grows in popularity, with stage plays being performed all over the place, multiple adaptations. Shelley wrote,
I find myself now famous. This second edition differed from the first, as it held only 2 volumes instead of 3.
In 1826, Mary publishes a post-apocalyptic novel that takes place in the 21st century. The novel is called The Last Man, and Sir Timothy is mad at her for publishing something, and he cuts her off briefly.
Oh, come on now. Percy's son from his first marriage to Harriet dies, making Percy Florence the heir to the Shelley title and estate, which now gives Mary a little bit more son.
It gives her a little bit more to work with, but Sir Timothy focuses basically all of his attention on this one surviving grandchild. In 1831, the third edition of Frankenstein is published, and this is the edition most readers are familiar with.
This one holds true just like the first edition with 3 volumes.
Somewhere between 1839 and 1840, with her father-in-law's permission, Mary publishes a collection of Percy's poetry called Percy Shelley's Poetical Works and Percy Shelley's Essays, Letters, and Translations.
While her father-in-law doesn't let her write an autobiography of him, she is able to write some biographical details of him in her notes to the poems, which I think is so sad.
But also, I will say, Sir Timothy may have watched how Mary's dad published the memoirs novel about his wife and then saw the backlash of that and was like, please don't. Please don't. Like, your lives have already been scandalous enough. I don't want to know anything else. So,
I don't want to know what happened in that cabin.
That's exactly. He's like, listen, y'all say an orgy didn't happen. I know your friends. I don't believe you. But finally, in February 1st of 1851, Mary dies at age 53 in London.
May she rest in peace.
May she rest in peace, because her life certainly was not peaceful. Now, folks, I know that was a lot of information. I know that you're thinking, why the heck are we going through all of this? But it is pertinent, and you will see why shortly.
Yes.
So we now know about Mary's life and the world she lived in, but what do we know about her most famous work, the thing we keep saying we're going to be talking about? What is it about?
Let us now turn to a very short and sweet synopsis of the book, shall we? But before then, we leave you with the words directly from Mary herself, when she awoke from a dream that started it all.
I saw with shut eyes but acute mental vision. I saw the pale student of unhallowed arts kneeling beside the thing he had put together. I saw the hideous phantasm of a man stretched out, and then, on the working of some powerful engine, show signs of life and stir with an uneasy, half-vital motion. All right, I'll go ahead and take the lead on this quick synopsis.
Yeah, well, spoilers
We're trying. Yenny, the book is over 200 years old.
So I didn't see this. I didn't read this book until you made me read this book, and then I was like, "Oh my God, I know nothing." And then,
all right. You make a very valid argument. So again, spoilers. The book starts with a framing device, our favorite thing ever since our Sinbad episode. Yes. Taking place in 17-something, we meet Robert Walton through the letters he writes to his sister. Robert has hired a crew and is sailing to the North Pole to discover this uncharted country. He is filled with passion and excitement about the potential of new discoveries, of new places. And as his voyage progresses, his vessel lodges itself in the ice, and he and his crew see a strange sight in the distance, a massive man being pulled by a sled team. A day later, another man and sled team are seen and then rescued from the broken ice. The rescued man introduces himself as Victor, And as he battles hypothermia, he asks the crew if they saw another man and sled team. And as he battles hypothermia, he asks the crew if they saw another man and sled team. Robert insists that Victor be taken into his crew's care and restored to health. And during this time, the pair become friends, and Victor shares his story.
Victor led a blissful childhood in beautiful and idyllic Geneva. He was raised by doting parents and had for companionship his adoptive sister/cousin, Elizabeth, best friend Henry Clerval, and also two younger brothers, Ernest and William. His life is beautifully charmed, the only tragedy sustained by his family being the death of his mother from scarlet fever, after she had taken care of Elizabeth, who had scarlet fever.
And also, can we just say, parallels to life. The first death is the mother.
Yes. One fateful day, he finds in his father's library a natural history/occult philosophy book by Cornelius Agrippa. This is the beginning of Victor's obsession with science.
Moving to Ingolstadt to attend the university there at age 17, Victor becomes a favorite of his professors as he applies himself obsessively to all things scientific, but specifically chemistry and natural philosophy.
It is during this portion of the book that we learn of Victor's last name, Frankenstein.
That is true. That is true. Victor dedicates himself to discovering the secret of life. As he believes himself to be closer to finding the answer to this secret, he converts part of his apartment into a laboratory and begins to visit charnel houses, where corpses are kept, and slaughterhouses to collect materials, quote unquote. He assembles these materials on his work table into the shape of a human man, though greatly enlarged so that Victor may more precisely be able to lay out the bones, muscle, fibers, tendons, and nerves.
Here is also where we learn a bit more about Victor, for he says, "A new species would bless me as its creator and source. It would owe their being to me."
Yeah.
I don't know about that, buddy. That's a little playing God. So
Exactly. So, and the fact of we've gone from this idyllic, beautiful childhood to we are starting to see the true nature of this
But
man.
Victor also has a lot of obsessive components to himself, because when Victor first speaks about Elizabeth, he felt as Elizabeth was a present to him.
She was for him.
And that
she was for him.
Forever, she was going to be his. And that was like,
That is also,
red flag.
Yeah, because, with that, I sort of dismissed it initially as like, oh, well, this is the talking of a child. And, because his mother said, oh, I have a gift for you, Victor, when she's trying to introduce them to the family. But yeah, as he grows up, he's exceedingly
more
selfish and possessive. So now, one fateful night, the original, it was a dark and stormy night, the creation wakes up. We don't see any Hollywood lightning bolts, anything like that. He just wakes up. His yellow skin scarcely covered the work of muscles and arteries beneath. His hair was of a lustrous black and flowing, his teeth of a pearly whiteness. But these luxuries only formed a more horrid contrast with his watery eyes, that seemed almost the same color as the dun white sockets in which they were set, his shriveled complexion and straight black lips.
That's right, listener. The creature is not green or stitched up in various places with metal knobs in his temples like Hollywood has portrayed him. He also was never named anything but the creature, or Damon, or Wretched Thing. The list goes on, because Victor Frankenstein.
A lot of sad names.
He is not named Frankenstein, which was, if anybody only knew the Hollywood version like me, we thought that the monster was named Frankenstein. Alas, we were misled, misguided.
That's all right.
Yes, because we have Sarah here who makes us read the book and understand. Now,
it's such a good book.
It is. Victor, in this part, is horrified by what he thought was a beautiful creation and flees his laboratory.
Which, he just spent all this time making it going, oh, it will owe me their creation and all this sort of stuff. I will be their god. It's awake! Runs.
That night, as he sleeps, because he thinks he can escape all his problems by sleeping,
Relatable.
Sarah.
I get that. I get that.
He suddenly awakens and finds the monster hovering over his bed, just like hanging out by the curtain, like, Daddy.
Just like, hi.
Daddy.
Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, gosh.
Victor flees his home like a crazed person, and after his panic sort of subsides, wanders the streets aimlessly.
He doesn't want to go back to his apartment.
Shit. During this aimless wandering, he runs into his childhood friend, Henry Clerval, who has come to study at the university himself. Or so he thought, because what Henry ends up doing is taking care of a delirious illness that Victor gets for months.
Yeah, he is Victor from all of this study and experimentation and building a life form. He then just drops down almost dead, just sick. And like poor Henry has to take care of him and like write letters to Victor's father and Elizabeth and be like, hey, so I made it here. Victor's sick and can't write you. I'll keep you posted.
Exactly.
So Henry helps Victor recover, and in turn, Victor helps Henry become more familiar with the city and even attend some of Henry's classes with him because he no longer wants anything to do with the hateful study of science. This guy is obsessed and then drops it like a hot potato. At last, the pair decide they should travel home for a visit. It has been roughly 6 years since Victor left for university. But before they leave for Geneva, Victor receives a letter from his father stating that the youngest Frankenstein child, William, has been murdered, and the family ward, Justine, is the suspected culprit.
This again sends Victor into psychological turmoil. He does not take the passing of those nearest him well. And, of course, no one does.
I mean, and naturally.
But the way that he handles his issues is just strange.
Right.
As we will soon see.
But I will also say the second death in the book, much like Mary Shelley's life, is a child.
We will talk about that
more
after the synopsis.
Yes. So, upon returning to Geneva, Victor goes to the scene of William's murder in the forest, and there catches a glimpse of his creation in the tree line. He loses sight of the monster, but is convinced now of Justine's innocence. He believes that the monster, his own creation, is responsible for the murder of an innocent child.
Now, dear listener, this is where Sarah's going to begin screaming a little bit more because she hates Victor, so brace yourself.
I do.
You're not alone.
And I will say, this is not to say that I think that Victor is this absolute, monolithic villain who's unrelatable in any sense. I think that's part of the beauty of this novel is it is a cautionary tale about what evils we as humans can do, but it's the fact of some of the choices he makes. I'm just, all right, so. Justine is put on trial for the murder of William Frankenstein and claims she is innocent. Elizabeth even steps forward as a character witness, but to no avail. In fact, it kind of has the opposite effect. Justine is found guilty, allowed a brief and terribly sad visit from Elizabeth and Victor, and then executed. During this entire ordeal, Victor laments that no one is suffering as much as he is, since he knows who the true culprit is, and in fact created the culprit. In fact, he states that at least Justine could rest on her innocence, and now can rest in death, whereas he must continue to be tortured by his guilt. And why did Victor never tell anyone about the monster? Because he knew everyone would think he was crazy, and that's fair, but he never said anything in Justine's defense, other than when he was talking to her, saying he believed her.
Yeah, and I think he is freaking crazy. But I will save my rant for later because I am enjoying the summary/rant that you are going into right now. So,
thank you. Thank you. So the whole family's depressed. They go to their vacation home to get away from it all. And Victor is depressed and suicidal, and he goes on his own little trip into nature to admire the beauty of the mountains, the lakes, the rivers, whatever. It is here that he once again encounters his creation, and he yells at it and curses it. The monster approaches Victor and begs him to listen to him, stating that he is Victor's Adam. And he proceeds to tell his creator about what he has endured for 2 years.
Yeah.
Because remember, the creation has been alone
for 2 years.
For 2 years since he woke up and Victor freaked out.
Insane.
So after the creature woke up and Victor ran out, the monster ran away from the apartment and out into the elements. It was here he experienced light, dark, cold, hunger, and fire for the first time. He is not some individual who has woken up from death. He is a new
being.
individual, and he is experienced this onslaught of sensations all at once. He saw that people were afraid of him, so he ran away into the woods. And in the woods, he found the cottage of a poor family consisting of a blind elderly father and his 2 grown children, the DeLaceys.
The monster steals food from them to feed himself, but brings wood to the house in exchange. Through the conversations of the family, he learns how to speak. When he sees his reflection in a river one day, he now understands why people are afraid of him, and he finds himself to be grotesque and horrible to look upon, which is so sad.
It's so
Later, the monster found a copy of Milton's Paradise Lost in the woods and began to read it. He sympathized with Satan, another creation rejected by its creator. He also learned about Victor and how the monster was created when he finds some of Victor's writings.
It is here the monster decides to approach the blind DeLacy father, hoping that if he speaks gently and kindly, the family will accept him. After all, he's been watching them for a long time, and while he has stolen some of their food, he's tried to return, pay it back by bringing them food and make sure they're okay. Things are going well with the father at first. He's blind.
Right.
He can't see the monster's appearance. He can only see kind of the core of the monster, which, themes.
Mm-hmm.
But when the grown children return home and see the creature, they are instantly afraid of him and gather up their father and run away. When he tries to reapproach the family at a later time, he finds they've moved away from the cottage.
Which gave me such a sad feeling for him,
I know. It's heartbreaking.
Angered, the monster makes his way to Geneva. He meets a boy in the woods and tries to reach out to him. But when the boy refuses to befriend him and claims his father is a Frankenstein, the monster realizes this is how he can get back at his creator, and he kills the boy and plants evidence of the crime on a sleeping Justine.
The monster at this point demands that Victor make a mate or companion for him, and Victor refuses, claiming that 2 monsters would bring greater destruction. But the monster tells Victor that Victor is the one who is to blame for the evils of the monster, and says,
I was benevolent and good. Misery made me a fiend. Make me happy, and I shall be virtuous.
Victor is actually swayed and agrees to make a companion for his monstrous creation.
Victor, you are swayed too easily.
So, while Victor and Henry travel through Europe on this brief little best friend trip, Victor finds a secluded location in Scotland, leaves Henry with some friends of theirs, builds himself a laboratory, and begins the work of creating a bride for his monster. One evening, Victor begins to wonder if he should really do this, believing 2 monsters could breed a, quote, race of devils. And when he glances out his window, he sees his monster staring up at him with what Victor describes as a wicked grin. Horrified, Victor destroys his lab and what he had so far made of the second creature. The monster is enraged by this and promises Victor that he will be there on his wedding night.
Oh, did we forget to mention that Victor and Elizabeth are, getting married after this European tour?
Okay, yeah, they're getting married. This
Yeah.
is kind of like an extended bachelor trip. And then the monster leaves.
Bye.
So Victor dumps all of his equipment and the remains of the second monster into the ocean. When he makes it back to shore, after struggling against a storm and being knocked off course multiple times, he's arrested by locals and accused of a murder that had just taken place. Victor proclaims his innocence and then is shown the body. It is his friend, Henry Clairvaux, and it is evident that he has been strangled by the monster. Victor falls ill yet again, is imprisoned, and then acquitted. His father picks him up and brings him home.
During the trip home, Victor admits to killing William, Justine, and Henry. But his father thinks Victor is merely having a nervous breakdown and tries to refocus thoughts on his upcoming marriage to Elizabeth. Everything will be fine when you're married.
Everything will be fine. Yeah, marriage fixes everything.
Yeah. The pair are married and go off on their honeymoon, and Victor awaits the monster's return, believing that this will be his death. However, he hears Elizabeth screaming in another room and finds that the monster's threat was towards Elizabeth, not Victor.
Which I kind of want to say, duh.
Duh.
Victor, you were a little dense there.
Bruh. How could he? Because he only thinks about himself. He's very narcissistic.
There we go.
Shortly after Elizabeth's death, Victor's father dies from grief, which about time, because that dad has gone through a lot.
Dad went through it.
Victor goes mad,
yeah.
and has to be held in a cell for his own safety. Finally, Victor devotes the remainder of his life to finding his creation and destroying it.
So he follows the monster north and was chasing him with his dog sled when the ice broke under him and he fell under Robert's care.
Remember him from, the start of everything? Yes.
Right? Yeah, we are now back in our sort of present timeline on the ship with Robert and his crew.
Yes.
Now, Victor knows that he's dying and begs Robert to end the monster if he finds him. Robert continues to write letters to his sister, stating that the ship is still trapped in the ice, and he fears he has made a terrible decision in this voyage and that his crew might mutiny. There's kind of a parallel going on here, guys, between Robert and Victor. We'll get into that later. Shortly after, Victor dies, and Robert is startled to find the monster has snuck on board the ship, and he is weeping over Victor's body. The monster tells Robert of his grief, his hatred, and his utter loneliness. However, now that his creator is dead, the monster claims his life may now end as well. Robert watches as the fallen angel makes his way towards the ice, presumably towards his own death. The end.
Well, Sarah, that wasn't exactly short.
I tried, okay? Okay, honestly, Yenny, when do we ever keep anything short, even when we do try?
Yeah, that's true.
We are sweet, though.
Oh my God, we're the sweetest. So we're not short, but we are sweet. No, definitely we're not short. We'll tell you that much.
We're not short either. All right, so Victor Frankenstein is a character who not only desires to understand science and the natural world, he wants to conquer it. We throw around the phrase playing God frequently when discussing the themes of Frankenstein, but when we meet our starry-eyed Victor, we see curiosity quickly become corrupted into obsession. And while some of his professors taunt him for his love of, Cornelius Agrippa, even his father teases him and gives one of my favorite lines in literature, Cornelius Agrippa, my dear Victor, do not waste your time on this. It is sad trash. And some educators redirect his steps. Victor is pretty much left to his own scientific devices without ever being given a moral or ethical guidance. Jurassic Park's Ian Malcolm would have an absolute field day with Victor and the coulds, woulds, and shoulds of the latter's pursuit of science. Chaos theory. Victor is driven by his ambition, pride, obsessive curiosity, and never once stops to think about how his actions could negatively impact anyone else around him. And once his curiosity is satisfied, he takes absolutely no responsibility for it until it is far too late.
Wait a second. Sarah, are Frankenstein and Jurassic Park related? They got the storms, they got the monsters, ambitious scientists, and frogs at the center of science.
Oh, that's right, the galvanism experiments. You're right, Yenny. But no, we're focusing on Frankenstein right now.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But it does make sense. It does make sense why we love both of those so much.
It does. Mary's creation held a lot of her past and present in it. She wrote, "I have an affection for it were the offspring of happy days, when death and grief were but words, which found no true echo in my heart."
Oh, she writes so beautifully.
Yes.
Mary writes a tale of longing, excitement, and horror in regards to the creation of life. Victor longs to find the secrets of life, is excited as he finds the crown of his achievements, his creation, and is horrified when it does, in fact, come to life. And this leads to him abandoning it. Mary herself felt abandoned by her mother. We know, she died. Mary knew that too, but it didn't stop her from missing her mother all the same and feeling like there was this hole in her heart. And she felt further abandoned by her father when he remarried, and the fact that her father wasn't really a father figure.
Mm-hmm.
She longed to fill that void in her life with a great love and family of her own, but she was met by obstacle after obstacle. Percy was married, they were ostracized by their peers thanks to their affair, and their marriage was tragically short and also kind of fraught.
Yeah.
They may have viewed themselves as star-crossed lovers, but they went at each other a lot.
Yes.
And when Mary was finally able to create life herself, she saw its destruction again and again, and creating life almost destroyed her at one point. Mary and Victor both seek control, and it constantly eludes them.
As we've spoken before, on multiple occasions in the book, we see a reflection of Mary's own life. Here's just a few. The first name of Mr. Frankenstein is Victor. Percy Shelley himself was called Victory during his childhood. Even more so, descriptions of Frankenstein's persona mirror that of Percy's. A divine wanderer with wild eyes who can be overwhelmed by disappointments but is elevated by nature and his surroundings. As we know, Mary and Percy traveled quite frequently.
And as we know, both Victor and Percy Shelley were kind of volatile individuals. Need another reason why we believe Percy and Frankenstein are potentially one and the same? As I mentioned earlier, Percy was quite interested in magic, witchcraft, and galvanism, seeking to understand the deeper meanings of life in the natural world.
Mm-hmm. Mary also took inspiration from Roman mythology's Prometheus. In 1815, she was actually reading Ovid's Metamorphoses, which we have spoken about before, which had Prometheus as a plasticator, someone with the ability to create and manipulate men to life, which could be the reason for the book's additional title, The Modern Prometheus. Now, the character Justine has quite the parallel to the author Mary. While we didn't go into it much in the book's summary, Justine's father favored her greatly, but upon his death, her mother treated her poorly. In Mary's life, her mother, as we mentioned, passed just 10 days after birth. While her father did favor her, her stepmother took charge of her. Both her stepmother and stepsister troubled her deeply, and Mary often felt like she was not wanted nor that she belonged.
Yet parts of Justine's mother also seem to mirror Mary's feelings. She wrote that Justine's mother began to think that the deaths of her favorites were a judgment of heaven to chastise her partially. As we recall, Frankenstein was finished in 1817, with Mary having already lost one child and heavily pregnant with another who would also unfortunately pass.
What is even more incredibly sad is that Justine's mother was a widow of 4 children, all of whom died except for Justine. Mary also had 4 children and became a widow, with only Percy Florence surviving, which is a bit prophetic, right?
I hate that.
Yeah. Finally, there are many stormy nights going on in the book, which could be an ode to the terrible weather she experienced while traveling with Percy. As we recall, 1816 was the year without a summer in Europe. The gloomy, rainy evenings made quite an appearance through key points of the book too, which we're going to deep dive into soon enough. Now, within the story itself, there is a correlation between Robert Walton, Victor Frankenstein, and dare I say, the creature. All 3 are lonesome to some degree and looking for friendship or some sort of bond. Robert starts his letters to his sister in the beginning of the book describing how he has no true friend to speak to challenge his intellect, and to enjoy the time with. Yet when met with Victor, he soars with delight over finding an interesting counterpart. In the same way, Victor does not have many friends, and is for the most part alone throughout the book, though he has people trying constantly to stay near him, like his family members. He does have a constant friend, Henry Clerval, which is there for him to some extent.
Interesting how those closest to him, those who desire to be close to Victor, are the ones he pushes away and who also suffer for Victor's choices.
Yes. Finally, the creature himself finds himself wanting a friend, but unable to have any due to his horrifying appearance. Try as he might, he cannot. All three characters try to find the meaning in their life and friendship, but find themselves alone or isolated more often than not. Continuing to find correlations between the three, all of them have the same kind of purpose, which is to find their own purpose and also to learn more about the unknown.
Oh.
Yeah, Robert is traveling the world and constantly seeking to be impressed by the unknown seas. Victor does not find himself caring for much except for science and the age-old question of, how far can I go? And the creature? His goal was to be a companion to the creator as well as find a place where he belongs, and later on to just find knowledge.
And those are two elements that are unknowns for the creature.
Yes. Now, the weather is also something to consider.
Ah, you were hinting at this. Now, is this like in movies where people like to say, the setting is also a character?
Yes. Sure. Listen. Every time Victor is going through some sort of turmoil, it is raining or thundering. Stay with me here. When he makes the creature, it is raining. When he goes to the location where William was murdered, it's gloomy, raining, and thundering. And he also spots the creature at this point. As he throws out the creature's to-be bride's parts in the ocean, guess what? It's storming. It seems like in all key points where Victor is going through an extremely nervous breakdown, there is a storm. And finally, when Elizabeth dies, can you guess what's happening?
There's a storm.
There is a storm. But all of this, are they literal storms or storms in his mind?
Is nature reflecting his internal storm?
Oh, this made me fall into the rabbit hole of whether or not the creature was real or perhaps a figment of Victor's troublesome mind or even Victor himself. I actually sent a voice note to Sarah going, is the monster even real? So
it was pretty frantic. I did love that.
Yes. Victor does not take death well. In fact, it is due to the numerous deaths throughout his life, his mother, brother, and family, and then his wife, that makes him spiral uncontrollably.
And honestly, as we've already mentioned, he was kind of fragile from the beginning, falling into months-long illnesses after succeeding with his creation. He even states early on that his father made sure he and his siblings were never exposed to horror or anything graphic or macabre. So the fact that his life is suddenly made up of nothing but the macabre would certainly do a number on his mental state.
The only person who Victor knows that sees the creature is Elizabeth, who she only sees right as he kills her. But we're left wondering, did the creature do it or Frankenstein himself?
Ooh.
I felt as though Victor lost his mind throughout the years, and the creature he created was kind of just a version of himself. Perhaps he is a person with multiple personality disorder.
Like a little Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yes. Victor himself is filled with guilt for the absence in his family, for the deaths he caused to answer the question of how far he could go. And before you call me crazy, listen, I am not the only one who believes this. There has been a lot of literary discussions about this.
About whether or not the creature is actually real or just part of some sort of psychotic event happening with Victor.
And while I know that Robert sees the creature at the end and the fallen, we have to wonder, was Robert real? Or is this the third person of Victor's mind? Who knows?
Well, we have the framing device of Robert, Victor, and then the creature where they all swap, first-person perspectives. So maybe it's all just this telescopic framing narration all taking place in Victor's mind.
I'm telling you!
Oh, that's a very interesting theory. Listeners, let us know in the comments what you think of this theory. Join us in Discord. Let us know. Now, what I find tragic and possibly ironic if the monster and Victor are one and the same is that Victor, the named human protagonist, is less self-aware and conscious than his creation.
Yes.
The unnamed chimeric antagonist. Both commit heinous crimes, but at the end of the story, Victor is filled with self-pity and the monster is filled with self-loathing and regret. Is the creation more human than his creator in this story? Who is the real monster?
Oh, that's definitely a question that nobody asks when reading this book, right? And also, it made no sense to me that the monster who didn't know how to speak, who didn't know how to read, write, or anything because he was, created, suddenly had all of these, ideas of, oh, I'm going to kill this person. I'm going to seek revenge. I'm going to do that. How do you get there? So that's when I'm like, no. Aquí hay algo.
There is definitely a suspension of disbelief there,
Sí.
unless we believe that Victor has, while he was creating his monster to be both enlarged in physique, was also enlarged in intelligence.
Yeah.
But listeners, again, I know I've already said this, but let us know what you think. Yinny is team the monster is not real. I am team the monster is real, and these are great discussions. I love these discussions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to quote Robert Smart, professor emeritus of English and former dean of College of Arts and Sciences. One element of genius in Mary Shelley's novel is its focus on what happens when we let human ambition and pride override caution and care for others. Our motives might be honorable, in this case, finding a cure for mortality, but the means turn the enterprise into something terrible, something monstrous. And Frankenstein is, along with being a gothic and romantic tale, a cautionary tale.
Yes.
Even though we vilify Victor, and I love to hate on Victor, we could all easily become him. How far is too far in science? What happens when we are not reined in by morals and ethics, a sense of right and wrong? What new monstrosity will we as humans, in our attempt to play God, unleash upon the world? Cough, cough, AI, cough. Yeah.
Okay, Sarah, I think we have dived deeper than the deepest of dives with this one. And that's Jurassic Park and Frankenstein have been real big deep dives.
Right? But I could do more.
No. We're not going to get obsessed. Have you learned nothing, darling? All right. I'm cutting the electricity on this and saying time for modern media.
I see what you did there. All right, so in case you haven't had enough Frankenstein or Frankenstein-like films, we're not going to list all of the exact adaptations of Frankenstein. We'll list a couple of them, but we want to talk about some more Frankenstein-type inspired stories. So, Ex Machina is a 2014 film, which also stars Oscar Isaac, about what happens when a scientist creates a automaton.
Yeah.
That is sentient and is intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
Splice is a 2009 sci-fi horror weird film.
Which...
again, about messing with humans and science and animals and all that sort of stuff.
Let me tell you, that sex scene and then the pregnancy after baffles me. The movie is crazy.
It's a weird movie.
Crazy.
It's a weird movie. I'm not saying I recommend it. I'm just saying it kind of fits the theme.
But I mean, it's a watch. It's a watch.
That is true. Now, a more direct translation of the Frankenstein story with a modern twist is the Destroyer comic series by Victor Laval, in which a scientist who is one of the last descendants of Victor Frankenstein loses her son in basically a police shooting and turns to the same science that her ancestor did in order to bring him back. And what that leads to.
Oh. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, released in select theaters October 17th of this year, 2025. And we look forward to its release on Netflix on November 7th.
I'm also looking forward to something else on November 7th, but I can't seem to remember what it is.
Huh, crazy. I don't either. Insane. Weird.
It's odd. It's odd.
It's
Okay.
odd.
The upcoming film, Frankenstein in Romania, starring Sebastian Stan and written by Radu Jude, does not yet have a release date, but I am anxiously awaiting it.
Me too. The Bride, directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal and starring Christian Bale and Jessie Buckley, tells a violent, Bonnie and Clyde-inspired kind of story, taking place in 1930s Chicago. It's due to release in March 2026.
Rumor also has it that Mel Brooks is working on turning his film, Young Frankenstein, into a TV series called Very Young Frankenstein. I'm telling you, folks, we are having a great years for Frankenstein-type media.
Love that. If you are interested in other writings by Mary Shelley, check out, as mentioned, The Last Man, Perkin Warbeck, Lodore, and Faulkner. Additionally, Mary also wrote on her continental travels with her son, Percy Florence, and his friends called Rambles in Germany and Italy.
That sounds kind of adorable.
It is.
All right, time for our siren call.
Yes.
Go see Guillermo del Toro's newest addition to the monster's lasting legacy. If you couldn't see it in theaters starting October 17th because it was only released to select theaters, Frankenstein arrives on Netflix on November 7th. After you've watched it, let us know what you think in our Discord. Come join us.
All right, and if you're also wondering, what are the girls talking about that's happening in November 7th? Check our Instagram. You'll figure it out. All right.
We will be posting updates.
We will. So love you guys so much. Have a great November. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming. We're going into Christmas themes soon enough.
We're heading into Christmas themes.
It's Christmas.
Yay!
So
it's Christmas. Christmas means carnage.
Take out those Halloween decorations because Mariah Carey is here.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Story Sirens. You can follow us on Instagram at Story Sirens Podcast. Want to support us? Send us a cup of Ko-fi by searching ko-fi.com/storysirens. We've got lots of treats for those who become siren seekers. All research materials can be found in the episode summary. Music by Donald Guzzi and artwork by Alexis Torres. Story Sirens is a Feather and Fin production. See you soon.